Welcome to Yoga for You, a channel tailored to helping you discover your very own unique yoga practice.
Hey guys, I am so stoked to bring you this talk today. It's with my good buddy Robert Sturman, 18-year professional yoga photographer, Grammy award-winning visual artist. He has lived it, he has been a part of it for the last couple decades, and today he's going to tell all. He's going to talk to us about not only his career, his path, his passion, his purpose, but also how he got to this point, through the depression, through the challenges, through the changing of the times. This is a powerful interview. I hope you enjoy it. Please respond to anything you feel called to in the comment section below. We have linked some books he talked about in the comment section below. Ultimately, really enjoy this one. Thank you, Robert. Thank you all for joining. Namaste. Hey guys, welcome to this episode of the Sagacity Spotlight. My name's Ty, and today I'm joined with the incredible, the one, the only Robert Sturman. Welcome, Robert. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me, Ty. An honor.
No, it's mutual. Let me tell you, because you've been an inspiration on a lot of levels, and a lot of people look up to you around the entire yoga community. So it's an honor to be able to call you a friend and to be able to continue to work as our paths seemingly intertwine when necessary. So it's so great to have you today.
Thank you.
So how's it like in Santa Monica today?
Santa Monica is I guess today's the last day of April.
Oh yeah.
And it's a summer day. My pup Chai and I have already been up the coast to the beach for a long low tide walk and a little bit of a swim. And it's like summer already.
Wow, that sounds really awesome. It's great to be so close to some beautiful beaches right there.
Yeah.
And good old Chai.
And it looks like you're in the snow.
It may seem like that, but I just got a beautiful fire to keep my backside warm during this talk. But no snow here. It's actually, I'm up in the mountains near Big Bear, and it's, I'd say 60s right now. So it's beautiful. Summertime weather for the mountains is a little bit cooler than summertime off the mountains.
Yeah.
So
what happens if your front side needs to be warmed?
Well, then I'll just turn around and you'll have to see my bag. No.
All right.
Well, let's get to it. I had a couple questions for you. This podcast, this talk interview style that I have on my YouTube channel, it's really to kind of bring people into learning who the guests are, how incredible the guests are. And to break down the word, I haven't done it yet, but Sagacity Spotlight. It's pretty much the individual who is a sage in action, who's living a life of purpose, of wisdom, of action, of just true intent. And there's not a single guest I've had on here that isn't doing just that. So with that, I like to intertwine it into yoga. I like to intertwine it to help people see how many different sides there are of yoga. So I'd like to start with that simple question for you. What does yoga mean to you?
That is a question that has been asked so many times, but it's never an old question because it's constantly evolving. And completely non-scholarly, what it means to me is, I believe there's actually a quote by Swami Kripalu, and it's something to the effect of doing all your actions beautifully. And that is yoga. As far as from an artist's perspective, yoga, well, let me just start by saying that what it means to me is it has helped me tremendously. This ancient scientific art that can take you through a sequence and help us open up and release emotions and evolve in a more fluid manner. So it's a friend. It's a friend that helps me on this journey. And from a photographic perspective, it's almost as if it's a language to tell an incredibly uplifting, positive story about human beings all over the world in pursuit of excellence, of being better, of evolution, of reaching towards excellence,
I
which
love
is
that.
a great theme in the history of art. And that's how I feel that yoga has been the language I could use to participate in telling a story that fits into the history of art.
Yeah, and you've done that so well. I mean, you've been photographing some incredibly talented yogis all around the globe for over 18 years now. How did you bridge that? I know you've been a photographer long before that. Tell me the story about how you found yourself that first maybe yoga photograph opportunity. Do you recall?
Yes, I do. It was probably about when was that? 2000, maybe like 2002 or 2001. It was I had just returned from India, and I had when I first arrived in India, I arrived at Osho's meditation center, and just to get acclimated, and because I love his philosophy, and I've always considered him one of my teachers in art. He was very much fascinated with art and Van Gogh, and truly well read in the whole history of art. But so right when I walked into that center, there was this, and I was 30 years old. And right when I walked into that center, there was a large sign, and it had written a little passage called The Way of the Creator. And it said something to the effect of, we can only be creative if we are in love with life, if we love life enough that it comes naturally to offer a song here, a painting there, a poem over here, and a dance over there. So when I saw that quote, that was really the beginning of my, even though I had done some yoga classes throughout in college and stuff and just around town, and because I grew up in Los Angeles, and yoga was always something around. And but it wasn't until I read that I really knew that was giving me permission to rewrite the story of what it meant to be an artist. And because basically he was saying that the art is an expression of a life. So how I interpreted it is that my life was my art, and whatever I created was going to be an expression of the marble I was carving within myself. And so when I came back to Los Angeles, there was a magazine called Yogi Times at the time. And I just asked them, I said, hey, I was doing well with my career as an artist. And I just, I always heard, like, if you want to be good at something, do it. It's like Van Gogh, he lived with the potato eaters for a year before he finished his series, The Potato Eaters. So I said, you know what, I'm going to volunteer for Yogi Times, and they're going to assign me a different teacher every month. And that'll help me to become more of one of those yoga people, because I wanted to rewrite the story of what it meant to be an artist, and not subscribe to what I had been ideologically conditioned to believe, that artists needed to suffer. So many of my heroes in the history of art, lived lives of desperation, and many even took their own lives. And so it occurred to me that, especially by that statement that Osho made, that was a real old story. And so that is what yoga has meant to me.
Wow, that's truly a transformative trip you had, and you came back and you knew that what was being asked of you, it sounds like, and you jumped right onto it. So I would imagine what followed next can be described as a series of miraculous events as you found yourself exploding into the niche that is yoga photography. Everyone.
It was a very there weren't iPhones yet, and there wasn't. I don't believe there was social media was not popularized yet as well. It was right at at the beginning, the dawn of all that coming into reality. And so yes, it was something that there weren't a lot of us. Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah, it kind of made it, in a way, gave you the advantage, but the disadvantage of not being able to easily market yourself too. We live in a world now where everyone can market themselves at any given time. So, as you know,
True.
it's very different, and you've seen it come to be. You've seen the rise of photography. What's your take on that?
It is, I mean, well, you can't, I mean, you'd be a fool to fight it. You
True.
know?
Very true. Very true.
It's just like breathing. It's just something that's just a reality now. And my take on it is, like, I never looked at it like, I taught for many years mastering the art of yoga photography. So I provided people with the tools and the knowledge to become better photographers as well. When some people could look at that as to that I put myself out of business, but what really happened by everybody becoming a photographer is it pushed me far more deeply into humanitarian work and going into prisons and working with the military and embracing ideas that were evolutionary rather than just making pretty pictures of celebrating fellow yogis' practices, which was cool and all, but there's only so much you can devote your career. I have the privilege to be able to change my style. And oftentimes an artist, what my teacher told me, one of them, that it's important and healthy for an artist to reinvent themselves every 10 years.
Wow.
And I never thought about it much, but I think that's just a natural cycle because I have reinvented myself pretty much every 10 years. And I feel like I've been hanging around in this a little too long, but it's evolving within this into more of a less about yoga and more about just using this as a language to tell this incredibly positive story. And because it doesn't have to be yoga. Yoga is awesome. It's helped me. It's helped thousands and millions of people. But there's meditation. There's just self-care. That's what I'm finding that is the most important thing, is that people just learn how to deal with trauma more than anything else. And I think this past year, where everybody's lives got, there was a complete revolution.
Big time.
I think that a lot of people realized that they didn't have the tools to be able to deal with the void, uncertainty. To be positive and persevere.
And then that creates opportunity, and that's a beautiful thing that comes from moments of despair, moments of painful truth, is opportunity, reflection, observation. These tools, like you said, are that come with understanding meditation, because that's in a way the essence of meditation, observation, right? And yoga is observing the way the breath moves, in my interpretation, is the way the breath moves through the body in a mindfulness state of being. So it's been a very tumultuous time, but I feel like it has brought a lot, just as much darkness, it has brought equal, if not more, light. And that's the beauty that we're facing.
Yeah. Has it been a positive experience and evolution for you, Ty?
I can say it's been very challenging in every single way, but it's been positive because it has brought me to what I would say is an actual definitive point of what I see my mission and career to be. And that's bringing content like this into this world, so eyes for however long this exists can see and learn and grow, because the wisdom and teachings that you have and that some of my other guests have deserves to be heard. And to be able to come together over a simple platform hundreds of miles away and share a story, my year has brought me to this appreciation for life in a more simplified way. So yes.
Yeah, and you're so gifted at creating films that you're ripe, completely ripe for all of this.
Thank you. I
This,
appreciate that.
this is the way of connection now.
It is a little bit of backstory behind Robert and me where we met. Mammoth Yoga Festival. I was covering Mammoth Yoga Festival in 2019, and I went to his class. I made sure I got a break in my shooting schedule to go and attend his class, and it was pretty much in that moment. Actually, I'm totally skipping. It was Sedona that I took your first class, and that was
That's
in
right.
March of 2019.
That's right.
By Mammoth, we were having a blast together.
Yes, we were.
So anyway, to make a long story shorter, we hit it off pretty well. I learned a lot from him in that class, and looked forward to being able to share moments of time with him, and it's led to some great ice bath experiences and some fun little festivals. Is ultimately has brought me to the awareness of just the vastness that this profession of capturing, photography, videography, just how vast it can be. And so with that, I want to touch on the humanitarian work that you've done. I know lately you've been working a lot with the Prison Yoga Project. You've done a lot more than that, though. What would you say sticks out to you the most as you look back over your humanitarian career?
I think that, I mean, prison has been pretty incredible, but I'd say that one of the more like just things that I absolutely never would have imagined I would ever be doing when I was a student at the Art Academy is working with the United States military, photographing their yoga and meditation programs. So that to me has been just like that. For me, that's like the equivalent of being starstruck. I grew up in Los Angeles around all that nonsense and everything like that, but the fact just being around it's so odd. It's like it's an outlier. I love the outliers of the society, and to be able to integrate what I've my poetry with that has just been extraordinary. And to
Yeah,
be around human beings that are so vastly different than me, um, but have qualities about them that I so desire, you know, and them oftentimes wanting to free the poet inside of them. And a lot of the work we've done together has helped them to be able to let that out.
yeah, and it shows. It shows you really have a way of putting them at ease and allowing their heart to shine forward. And it's amazing. It's amazing. I'm obviously going to link all of your works and your website beneath, so anybody who's checking this out can open that up and give a gander while we're talking. But yeah, from your work for breast cancer awareness to just the wounded warriors that you've worked alongside with, there's few words that can describe the way you harmonize. And as being a photographer, another thing that you do in this experience is beautify, right? We've talked about this before. We have the ability, our almost in a way, our career, our purpose is to beautify the natural world, harmonize, alchemize, if you may, the things that surround us, to bring it into a state of just wholeness. How would you say the art of photography has helped open your mind's eye to the beauty of the natural world?
Well, the natural world, it gives you an opportunity, an excuse to just slow down and pay attention. I think it's as simple as that. It's like, I mean, Ansel Adams was a meditator. His photographs of the natural world we hiked in for hours, lugging an 8x10 camera, and would be alone for days working and being with the landscape and honoring it with a beautiful black and white photograph. How about you?
I'd say a lot of the same in a way. It is just being in a susceptible place to, turn on that street and just look up and see that mountainscape and just be frozen in time and know that that is something that connection takes away all of the walls and the boundaries and the boxes of the dimensions that we live in. And it's immediate, just this, you're breathing with that scape, you're breathing with those trees or that waterfall, and you sit with that, like you said, a meditation. It's receptivity to the observation of it all. But it's all shared in a way because it is this exchange. I feel like the more you still yourself, in my experience, the more you still yourself with the surrounding, the atmosphere, the person, right? If you're in a frantic state, you're trying to photograph a model, a beautiful yoga model, it's going to be vastly different than if you're in a still state and they're in a still state, and it allows that magic to kind of flow in a little bit easier.
100%. I mean, I've come to the conclusion it's more important to be a good person than a skilled photographer. And yeah, it's good to have both, but you really have to just know how to connect with people and be sincere.
Absolutely.
For that to flow out, that trust to be created, the unwritten contract.
Yes, that the ease of it all. I think it's pretty awesome, worth mentioning. I've been in a couple of parties in some of the nice houses around LA, and there's one particular, I think I texted you a couple of days after. I was in this house party, and I was walking down the hallway, and I look up, and I'm like, wow, that is a gigantic photograph, beautiful photograph. It kind of looks like something Robert would do. And look at the signature. I'm like, I think that's Robert's signature. And so I sent you the photo of it. And in this Beverly Hills mansion, there was, I don't know, gigantic 5 by 7 foot large prints in the hallway. Yes.
This was in like the Hill Bel Air area.
Yes.
And it was a whole hallway, right?
Yes, it was. There's a couple of large photographs I sent. It was just incredible.
Okay.
Where did you find the inspiration before yoga? Did you have a focus? How many years were you photographing? I guess let's start there. How many years were you photographing before you found that art of yoga photography?
Yeah. A lot.
Mm-hmm.
Probably about 17 or 18 years. Wow. And for the most part, in all honesty, my pre-yoga career and existence as a human being was out of a lot of desperation. I spent a lot of years lost and wanting so desperately to feel okay and to be able to cling to something that would give me purpose and make my life somehow a little bit meaningful. And so I chose being an artist because that's just where my heart was. And my heroes spoke to me through all of that. And yeah, I'm not sure what your question was, but that's where I went with it, that for the most part, I created out of a lot of suffering and despair.
Absolutely. And it's almost, it's good to be transparent that is experienced. I think some humans, when they're in the deepest parts of that, we don't feel like there's anybody else who could understand that you're alone in that despair. And it's worth just mentioning whenever it comes up that a lot of people go through that. Almost everybody naturally has to go through that at some point in their life. And it's good to know that through those times, there's tremendous beauty that could be found as well.
It was, I mean, but for me, I feel like it was preparing for something, because it was, so basically what happened was, like, I filled, for 20 years or so, I just filled sketchbooks, drawings, cutting out, like if there was a revolution in China, and great photographs, and just books and books of, like, keep documenting what was going on in the world, and also what was going on in myself. And what was going on in myself was a tremendous amount of suffering. And so, but by the time those books, by the time social media came around, I was done. I didn't need so much darkness into the world. You know what I mean? The alchemy occurred. But it took a long time, a lot of really disturbing pieces of art as well, that I'm not ashamed of. And I'm sure that I would do an exhibition with sketchbooks open to that. But it took a lot of time to clean that, to heal that, so that I could be more of service to humanity.
And it's so beautiful that you went through that, you know, and you didn't throw in the towel, or you didn't allow yourself to even feel. What's some of the things that you do now that you'd say help keep you in that state of positivity?
I go to the ocean a lot. I I have that ice practice, which helps tremendously. I do breath work, and I keep my life very, very simple. And I don't stay busy. I continuously have appointments just to do nothing. You know,
I love that.
I remember I've been very busy before, and I don't want to be busy. I want to be slow. I want to drive in the slow lane. You know, I want to do things slow now.
When did that shift happen for you, where you started to feel yourself wanting to settle a little bit more?
I had arranged, I mean, ironically, I had arranged to take hoping to take about 6 months to a year off to work on some other projects. And Sedona, where I saw you the last time, was the last traveling I was going to do for a long time.
Wow.
And then it just so happened that it was the last traveling I was allowed to do for a long time.
It's funny how you knew, your higher soul, you kind of knew in a way.
Well, what I knew was that I needed to slow down, because I'd been just traveling, and I wanted to, I felt like my work there was an evolution about my work that I, as a human being, needed to catch up to.
That's
So
beautiful.
I feel like in order to catch up to that, I needed to just relax and just be nobody, and a lot of times do nothing, but also at the same time be very disciplined and have a schedule. And that's some of the, getting back to what I said, that there's certain things about all the friends I have in the military that I find to be very attractive, and that's being on a schedule, and being highly disciplined.
It's amazing. So would you say that you have evolved to the point where you feel you're feeling confident in that evolutionary state?
Yes, I still screw off here and there, you know.
Of course, we have to, right? That's how we keep the balance.
Yeah, but much better. I don't get lost. you know, in my mind or in darkness. I just don't get lost anymore. I can find my way home. Very quickly, and that's by not by not taking risk, but just by being very comfortable in just being, breathing, and
Feeling like you know who you are.
yeah, and simplifying. Yeah,
It's powerful. It's a powerful, simple practice that is not always easy,
yeah,
but it's always there in a way, just waiting for you to come back inside.
yeah. You know, I mean, we get older, we we start to really notice what does and doesn't bring us joy.
Mm. That's it, huh? The secret lies in what brings you joy, maybe.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yes.
That's awesome. What has there been any takeaways like books, or you have a lot of mentors and teachers, a lot of artists I know that you look up to, but has there been any pieces of literature, any prose that have really made a profound impact in your development and discovery of yourself?
Um, well, you know, there's been the first book I ever read that really made an impact was Siddhartha. And I
Mm.
read that when I was 15 or 16 years old. And that is somewhat of a story about the Buddha. And that really opened my world to possibilities that I had no idea existed whatsoever. And it wasn't like a fantasy type of book about someone with superpowers or anything like that. It was just about a human being's journey and desire, longing to to have peace, to find answers. And so that was pretty profound. And over the years, it's really been um, I mean, I've studied a lot of books and had a lot of heroic figures in my life, but there's a lot of there's a lot of quotes that have stuck with me that have made massive impacts. Like from Chagall when he said, "If I create with my mind, nothing works, and if I create with my heart, everything works." That was a profound one. Um, you know, Picasso. I mean, this is a little. This you might not expect me to say a quote like this, but one of the things he said. Well, there's two. One, I'll start with one that where he said, "I want to live like a poor man with plenty of money in the bank." And so for me, what that represented was freedom. You know, find a way to not just to be okay, and so that you can be an artist and not waste. So that was, I doubt he did that. I mean, you know. But there was another one that really made a lot of sense to me and has very much inspired my career. And that's when he said, someone said, "Pablo, what would you do if they took away your paints and put you in prison?" He said, he said, "I'd spit on my finger and draw on the wall."
Wow.
So, and that's been a very influential quote that I've learned a lot about, like from my own discovery as a photographer, which is I'm not a technical guy. Like when I see your equipment, I'm kind of like, wow, that's, you know, because I made the Polaroids sing and dance,
Yes, you did.
and I'm trained as a painter, so for some reason I never got like the whole obsession. I never subscribed to that I needed all the best equipment in order to do, I mean, you should see, I used a Canon Rebel for years, which professional photographers would laugh at because it's your entryway camera, but going from the Polaroid to the Rebel was mind-blowing to me. So, you know, and it's just in the last few years that I started to get L series lenses, and which I still can't tell the difference. And you know, between that nifty 50 lens for $99, you know, and I have the one that's like $1,500, which I miss my nifty 50, the plastic one. So, man, I think I went on a tangent, and I apologize for that.
No, that's the purity that that's where the magic lies in this. So don't ever apologize for shining that, because that's what we're here to bring. And beautiful.
You asked. So right now I've been really studying, I don't know if it's backwards on the, oh yeah, everything converts. This is Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, who was an emperor, a Roman emperor, before, in way, way long ago, very long, AD. Stoicism is about taking responsibility for our own lives and living with integrity. And it's one of the most beautiful philosophies that I've ever come across. So I've been embracing that more in my life at this stage.
That's amazing.
You know, Abraham Maslow says, what one can become, one must become.
That's powerful. Stoicism, character, integrity, all of those.
Morality, yes.
Morality. Now you have an amazing way. I've always kind of admired it, but I don't think I could ever say it quite like you. How do you? Is it you make a photograph? Is that what you do?
Yeah. I believe our languaging is very important. You know, like it doesn't sound right to go shoot the president. You know, I mean, or shoot anyone.
True.
It just so. And it occurred to me that taking a photograph is stealing. And a lot of photographers do steal. And I used to be a thief. And what I mean by that is I cared more about getting a great photograph than life itself, than my subjects perhaps. Like, it wasn't like I was mean or anything like that, but that was where there was something that really had a desire to take great photographs. And then I realized that my subject is, I'm nothing without what's in front of me. I can't, my work can't exist without. So it's a collaborative effort of two artists in the heart of creation. And we make rather than take.
Yeah, see, that's beautiful. And that mindfulness, even in just being aware of that, is so profound, and definitely something I aspire to. Be more sincere with the language.
You seem like you're doing a good job.
Thank you. So what's coming up for you? What's new? What's in the foreground for you?
It's been a very healthy break, and in all honesty, well, I am going to eventually, at some point in the near future, put out a coffee table book with all of these things that we're discussing with my work, my life's work.
Wow.
And I'm at a stage where I feel like I'm done. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, like maybe and I don't know what's next.
Of course.
But I want to take this time before to make something that is the sum of all sums. And that's going to be a book. And hopefully some videos too that I'm going to employ you to collaborate with me on and help me bring those to life. So what's next is this is halftime,
Mm,
and I don't know what the plan is.
there you go.
Cool with that. I'm cool. I'm definitely cool with that. And I don't need to be important.
You're so humble. You've always been so unbelievably humble, and it's so beautiful. It really is.
I brag sometimes.
Rightfully so. You should. You deserve that. You've done a lot of great stuff all around the world, and it's it's just such an honor to know you, man, on this level. It really is.
You too, my friend. Seriously, you have a light in you, and you have such a promising career ahead. It's just such a lust for life.
Mm.
Like some of the things that we discussed, like you're in that stage right now, but way more advanced than I ever was at your during the decade you're in right now.
Mm. We had to go through it though. I feel like you kind of came on to that, boarding school, some backstory, some boarding school when you were 14, got your first camera from your father. You discovered some of these teachings at 15, 16 you just spoke about. I mean, that coming of age era was years before even the average human comes online to that level of independence. That had to have played such a gigantic role in that maybe more challenging time, that you still had to move through. You were thrown into the extravagance of life in an independent kind of way. I mean, I don't want to speak for you. Would you say that you would agree with that?
I believe I had that I was very unhappy, and I was searching desperately to find some space. I felt like a prisoner of the culture, and I didn't like being a kid and going to school and being told what to do, and I hated art, and I mean everything. I just didn't. The only thing I liked in school was sports. I was obsessed with on the playground. I'd much rather be there 8 hours a day, but in the classroom and in the system and principles. And so like when I heard Pink Floyd, The Wall, we don't need no education, and hey, teacher, leave them kids alone. I mean, there was all that energy was just like I hate it. I'm surprised I didn't become a punker because I really, really hated authority.
Wow.
But I didn't act out in violent ways. But when I did, but I was really in. I really didn't have a vast perspective of the world until I did go to boarding school at 14 years old. And when I got there, there were people from all over the world and hippies, and I heard music like Bob Marley and Bob Dylan and Neil Young, and it was absolutely extraordinary. I could not believe I fell in love with diversity and just the vastness of cultures and the past. But I grew up thinking in a very, very, it was a bubble. It was definitely, and a very privileged. Los Angeles is it just felt like the center of the world, and that was that. But it wasn't jack.
Mm-mm.
And ironically, a lot of yogis go and do ceremony, ayahuasca.
Mm-hmm.
When I was 14, And so, yeah, we had these deadheads next to us, and so I tried LSD for the first, one of the only times, because I just got it. I got the message, you know, and that's all that happened at that age, where I realized that there was so much more. I mean, boy, it was just a vast explosion, and there was actually no need to ever go do any of those types of things again.
That's powerful. That sudden understanding, that awakening, that comes to many different ways, but it comes when it's ready. And whether you're ready or not, when it gets to you, it'll bring you to your knees. That's for sure. I love it. Was there anything, as we close out, is there anything that you wish to channel through and speak to any of the lovely, kind, beautiful souls listening this far to this talk?
I would say really the most important thing is to never give up. Just never, ever, ever give up. And just to always remember to simplify. As Leonardo da Vinci so eloquently stated, simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. And that's all I got, man.
It's an awful lot. Thank you, Robert. It's been an absolute honor to be here with you in the shared space. The stillness is palpable. I can feel it. Thanks for bringing it. So much love for you, man, brother. Everything. You're it.
I look forward to many more collaborations in the near future. Very near.
I'm here for you. You know it. Namaste, my friend.
Namaste.
Hey everybody, really hope you enjoyed that talk. It was beautiful to have that experience with that shared guest. We have a lot of very useful information in the description section below, so be sure to check it out. I've also linked any and all videos with that individual in the description below, so check those out as well. It's an honor to bring this footage to you, and I hope you can come back and continue to deepen your practice. Namaste.